Hello, welcome to Chrysalis Invictus Tarot. This reading is a really important reading to me. It's how to navigate difficult times. I feel like we're all sort of sharing in a collective difficult time, but those of us who perhaps had difficult times before this, and by this I mean the global pandemic that is currently picking up speed, at least where I live, and everyone is going back into another intense lockdown. So I created this reading to help support, if I can, to do my part. And I hope that you find it helpful. I'm just lighting some candles here to set our intention to find the best guidance for us at this time to help us navigate these difficult times. You can see before you 3 piles. Pile number 1, pile number 2, pile number 3. And grounding down, taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. We call on our ancestors, guides, any energies or entities that wish to be present here and help us in a time of need, even if it doesn't feel like a time of need. So making your selection, I will meet you at your pile. If you chose pile number 1, this is your reading. Let's check in and see what's going on for you, what tools you have at this time. And set the scene. So we have card number 9 from the Fairy Oracle. And the Enigma card 13, the Beast. And number 2, the Heart. Okay, so first off the bat, I'm really getting that there are ways in which difficult times will trigger addiction issues for you, particularly with the presentation of the Beast and the Heart. These are 2 cards of, well, this is a card of addictions and this is a card of hearts, but I'm also getting water signs, and the shadow side of water is often addiction. That's a way of coping, a coping mechanism. So I can see that in difficult times you may turn to addictions, remembering that addictions aren't just to alcohol or drugs, but can be to people, to habits, to shopping, eating. That's another one. So I see that difficult times have these sorts of effects on you and can really polarize your emotions and your relationships with others. So that can either be through your addiction or through just the way that you express emotionally. I'm going to come back to this card. I keep trying to say something and then I keep having to come back. Okay, let's see who's here to help you. We have the Fool. And the Fool is really the energy of beginnings. So your ability to start again is one of your superpowers, but also having this fresh energy is going to enable you to take risks that maybe others are scared to take. And the Empress. Yeah, and this is interesting because I really feel like the addictions or the lifestyle that you have developed or the experiences that you've had through your addictions have really created this full energy in you. That's what's created this ability to start again, to embrace new experiences, to take risks, to willingly walk off a ledge. It's these experiences, these stages, and what you've learned from them have really given you this full energy. And then with the Empress, this is that heart. So it's the core of this suffering, or it's internalized anger, it's unexpressed anger, comes from this watery energy that you have. So maybe your Venus sign is in Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces. I'm really getting Cancer or Pisces mostly for this pile, but it could be any of those three. The Empress is this nurturing, nourishing energy, and that's really what's at the core of your heart. That's what makes you respond in these ways. Maybe misplaced nurturing. Maybe you're the enabler of addicts. And nurture, you can be both as well. But there's something to that. So the polarizing of the heart with this love and hate, if you discover, or if you can find ways to tap into this nurturing energy, to allow it to guide you. The Empress is also, I'm being told, the Empress is also pregnant with possibilities. So this beautiful heart energy that you have and that you possess that can sometimes go awry is also the reason that you're able to come to these new beginnings, because the nurturing part of yourself, your heart, is always birthing something new and beautiful. And perhaps it's the world's response to that that makes you turn to these addictions. So let's get more from the tarot. So advice for navigating difficult times for my pile number 1. Advice for navigating difficult times. We have 2 cards. We have the 9 of Pentacles. Interesting. I'm going to put that on the side. And number 4. So this is the Emperor. But we're not holding on to the meaning of the cards too much with these Jon Bauer. The Emperor. Yes. So the shadow side of this powerful energy that you have here with the beast, the shadow side of the Emperor, in this case, I'm really feeling is the beast. So you're reminded that the powerful energy that you have that coincides with addiction. So the resourcefulness, the ability to pull yourself up again and align things in that way, that is available to you at any time. And to make offerings to that aspect of yourself. So what is it that your emperor self is needing? And feeding that, because whatever that void is, you fill it with an addiction, right? So if you can identify the void, maybe you can fill it with something else. And I'm very interested in the fact that this reading has really split into two sections. So I feel like though you are an integrated whole, at times people may experience you as two different people. So there's the addictive self, and then there is the other self. And this self is really, the core, and this sensitivity is the reason for some of the things that happen over here. They do work together, but that there is really, this is sort of your masculine side, and this is your feminine side. And in your feminine side, you have a resourcefulness. This is the Nine of Pentacles. This is the queen that stands in her garden, enjoying the fruits of her labor. She has a solid relationship with her guides. So she really has followed her intuition into this sense of independence. And you may have had to cultivate this independence from the experiences that you've had based on maybe more risky behaviors or all of the new beginnings that you've gone through. So let's see one more advice card perhaps for the center. Let's get something to open up this card at the center, the number 9. Number 9 seems to be significant here. Oh, and we also, I didn't even notice this. We also have the Emperor and the Empress coming out in the same reading. So that you have a powerful masculine and feminine side. Regardless of however you identify, both aspects, your nurturing and your ability to provide, your action, your activity, and your passivity, you have really powerful energies in both. Okay, and the 9 of Cups, 9 is so significant. So I want to let you know that 9 is really the first stage of fulfillment, particularly here for the 9 of, these are the two best 9s you can get, the 9 of Cups and the 9 of Pentacles. This is blessings. Like this is a wish fulfilled, the 9 of Cups. So I really feel like there is hope at the center of your reading. Your other card was number 11. I actually don't know what this card is. 11 is the Devil, isn't it? I'm reading it from the image, so wow. There's something extremely powerful about you, and you often give it over to these forces that are greater than yourselves. So you're succumbing to your emotions, succumbing to your addictions, feeling powerless, feeling like you have no control. But you are reminded here with the Empress, the Emperor, the Fool. You have, with these 9 cards, like, you have provided for yourself through everything you have been through. You have survived everything the world has thrown at you. 999. Go look that up. It's important. You are coming through these difficult times and actually taking something from it. And because of that, emotional fulfillment, a wish is going to be fulfilled. And it's interesting because this character here is really the figure that's standing in this garden. So she's made her wish. It started in her heart. It was a dream that she carried in her heart, and she found it. And she found it through all of these tools that she had developed, through listening to her heart, through acknowledging the independence, the resourcefulness, the ability to survive and begin again. These are no small skills. This is really and truly a very beautiful reading. That's what I have for you, pile number 1. Please leave me a comment down below. Let me know how this speaks to you. And we'll see you soon. Pile number 2, welcome to your reading. So let's take a look at what advice we have for you for navigating difficult times. First, we have number 43, the dragonfly. And number 41, Psyche. Okay, so I'm getting a lot of air energy from this. So I really feel like you have anxiety and potentially difficulty with the nervous system. So that when you come into difficult times, you feel it very much in your body, through your nervous system. This may be something that you're not aware of. I'm also getting inflammation. So the stress that comes out in your body, the anxiety, you really feel it through inflammation. There could be a tendency to dissociate a little bit, or to escape, a little bit of escapism into fantasies, borderline delusions or illusions, maybe not even borderline sometimes, maybe disappearing into those spaces. So I'm really seeing that that's what happens for you in difficult times. We have this card, number 32. It's almost like disappearing into a space and not being able to feel anything. What am I trying to say? Like you are not able to, no. Going into the head as a form of self-protection. So coming out of the heart space, moving into the head, overthinking, which actually feeds the beast. So it feeds the anxiety, the nervous system goes crazy, kicks into high gear. There's a lot of fight or flight response here, not really knowing where the danger is because you're just sort of hyper vigilant, perhaps, if you have some trauma. So let's see what guides you through these difficult times. We have wax. And the sun. Okay, so quite literally, it is important for you to get outside and to get sunlight. The darkness that you feel inside from the it could be invasive thoughts even, or anxious thoughts, is always made better by the outdoors and by the sun. There's also a message that I'm getting about stepping into anger, feeling anger rather than thinking anger, what angers your heart over what angers your mind, and stop feeding your mind things that make you angry. So what triggers you? It's interesting because this is a sun, but I keep seeing it as a bullet hole, breaking the glass. Breaking the glass that you put, your thinking is the glass that you put between yourself and others, honestly. It creates this space that you can't seem to transcend. But what you're doing is you're compensating, and this light energy that you have, this warmth, is not coming out. The beautiful, brilliant sun that's within you, this incredible warmth is sort of hidden, or it can't get out. There's light in this dragonfly as well, in several different ways. Light as in your energy is light, like it's not heavy, but also light as in brightness. Okay, and with this here, this is a card of making a wish or fulfillment. And I really feel like if you can find peace and harmony with yourself, it has a bit of the star energy, but with starker contrasts, I want to say. So if you could find a way to make peace with yourself, to methods to quiet this thinking, to come into the heart space more, you can fully self-soothe and fulfill yourself in that space. But you consistently go to your thoughts for guidance. You favor your thoughts. But then they just keep feeding this cycle. So what advice do we have for you? Advice for pile number 2 about navigating difficult times. Number 11. 5 of Cups. All right, so some unresolved grief that feels bigger than it actually is. This feels to me like shadows, childhood, perhaps things about yourself that you feel like you don't want to face. And then when you get digging, you realize that it's not so bad to sit with the terrible stuff. and actually you discovered something about yourself that was lost. It might be helpful to close your eyes now and picture yourself as a child. Notice what age you appear to yourself. And if you can, go over to that child and give them a hug. Practice this as many times as you remember to do so. This is the root of many of your anxieties. So another technique as well is if you identify certain times in your life where you needed support, particularly when you were really young, so toddler years or infancy. Imagining yourself, let's say you see yourself as an infant and you're crying and no one is picking you up. Going over and being the person who picks up the crying infant and knowing that you have this warmth and this nurturing and how you are with infants or children. And allowing yourself to really feel into that moment, and you can actually start to feel yourself now transform from that act of nurturing the infant self. And we can go back to any period in life and be an understanding friend or family member or companion. What other advice do we have for pile number 2? The 7 of Wands. Yeah, again, I really feel like part of what holds you back in difficult times is that you see yourself as smaller than you are. And you see your problems as bigger than they are. Because you're thinking about all of the different angles. You're perceiving threats perhaps that aren't even there, or thinking and projecting too far into the future when enough isn't known. And while it's okay to embrace some measure of the future, or to consider some measure of the future, a preoccupation with how is this going to play out in the future is, I mean, really the definition almost of anxiety. I know this is a big struggle, so nothing I say is going to make things better right away. Definitely some activities that help to trigger the parasympathetic system are going to be really tremendously helpful for you. Remembering to breathe, maybe taking more yin style yoga classes or restorative yoga classes, that sort of thing. And we have the Page of Swords. Yeah, so there's a preoccupation with thoughts. The Page of Swords, I almost want to say, and this sounds like such typical advice, but to write in a journal, to let your thoughts become things and edit them from there. But more than that, I'm getting writing letters. So writing letters to your past self, writing letters to your future self, or to people in your life, whether you send them or not, these letters are going to be important for you to actually, I think you have to hijack yourself in a certain way. You have to override the program. No, I don't want to talk that way because I don't understand computers enough. You want to hijack yourself and find ways to trick yourself into feeling into your heart or understanding what your heart wants over your head, or allowing your intuition to speak, your instinct to come through. Because I think that you have sharp instincts. You've navigated so many things by dealing with this anxiety. So you have a lot more skills and abilities than you know. And you'll be uncovering and discovering those as you begin to heal into this past self and to lift yourself up. Mastering your thoughts isn't thinking more necessarily, it's thinking more efficiently and with balance. That's what I have for you, pile number 2. I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for joining me. Please leave me a comment down below. Let me know how this connected with you. And if you'd like a personal reading, my information is in the description box below. Take care. Pile number 3, you chose the River Rock. Let's take a look at your reading. I'm just going to take a drink first. My tea always gets cold when I do these. So I'm going to pull this card, overall energy first. Number 5. And so let's see if we can get some information about difficult times for you, how that's expressed in yourself, and maybe some advice moving forward. Oh my goodness. Okay. So you are my spiritual pile, that's for sure. So I can see that when things get difficult, you turn to magic, you turn to signs, you turn to so the shadow side of this can be being superstitious, reading into signs and omens as if they are negative. There may be a reliance on tarot or that sort of thing to see through everything. But what that does is it kind of outsources your inward vision. So it's almost like you take things that are meant to be inward and you make them external. So you may do a lot of rituals. You may, see 3 crows and read into what that means, and do a bunch of tarot readings and really look to sources outside of yourself for this information, which is normally an inward reflection thing. That makes this kind of interesting, because what you do what makes these times difficult is also what you do to help yourself through. So let's see what's guiding you. Temperance. This is a card of Sagittarius. So again, there's this like divine energy in this pile. And the Hierophant, wow, scripture. So what is your spiritual practice, and when is it avoidance and when is it helping you? The Hierophant can really be valuable when he is continuing to seek knowledge and to teach. The shadow side of the Hierophant is not looking enough inward. So is the lack of high priestess in this energy. So again, turning to scripture, turning to things outside of the self for the information that is needed within the self. So how can you navigate difficult times? Is the solution is also the problem. What an interesting pile you are. Temperance. So there's this balance and this place where the divine comes in and balances things, and where, you know, things that are fortune, things that, maybe fortune is the wrong word, manifestations that it's like you put it out there, you put it in the hands of spirit, and then this is spirit taking it up and making it its own. So delivering it in a way that is right for you. But it's almost like you try in difficult times to control this process through your spiritual practice. So an over-reliance on ritual, an over-reliance on scripture, and what other people say about what's going on, I guess. So you're guided by this really, really heavy spiritual side, but you're misled by it also. So let's see if we can get some tarot advice for you. This is really fascinating. Please leave me a comment down below. It's almost like, no, we'll get the cards first. So the Five of Swords. Don't avoid details. Don't avoid bills. Don't avoid little things. I'm just getting this like hiding energy, like hiding from little responsibilities or the minor details of life. So in difficult times, you may neglect these things. So it could be a good idea to set aside a day of the week where you deal with these things. I'm really using the language that I feel that you would use in some way, where you sit down and you tackle it. You don't want to, but you, I don't know, make yourself a cup of tea, make it a habit, make it a ritual so that it doesn't fall behind. Because I get that it makes difficult times extend the avoidance of those things. And the Six of Swords. So avoiding other people, you're advised not to do this. A lot of this has to do with, so it's so interesting that all of this is air energy in some ways. It's all air and fire. And your advice is the same. Okay, because of the nature of this pile, I'm going to say this to you. So if you pull a card, read it both in the upright and in the reversed at the same time. Everything. It's almost like if you are in a difficult time and you pull a card in the upright, reverse it. And that's your advice. That's kind of what's going on here. So you may feel in difficult times like you need to draw away, like you need to move away from things. Again, avoidance. But you're advised to stick with things, to stick with the details, the paperwork, the small conflicts, to not walk away or move away from those things in the difficult times. So to stick with them almost, I mean, obviously, if there's something really toxic or really, that's not what I'm talking about here. This is more like, I'm going through a hard time, so I'm going to isolate and I'm just going to do a bunch of rituals and neglect everything else. I'm feeling very lightheaded. Ground. No card has specifically said that, but I'm saying it. Ground yourself. The Hierophant, you're reminded, is a Taurus energy, so it is an earth energy. Grounding through physical objects might be a good idea for you, particularly physical objects that hold a lot of beauty. So there may be Libra energy here as well. So having something that you know you can go to and even hold in your hand to ground you, or bringing beautiful physical objects in. So if you're going to buy a crystal, buy something that's more grounding, like jasper or agates. Anything that isn't going to raise vibration. Your vibration is high enough. And what? Okay. So we have the Hierophant again. Where in your life do you become, it's almost like you become dogmatic in difficult times and you're called to be more spiritual. But at the same time, to tether yourself and anchor yourself in the teachings. Let's get one more card to see. This is definitely calling to ground, though. Okay, and the High Priestess. Wow, wow, wow. Yeah. You have some big energy, some big cards here. So you are a magical being. Let's just put it that way. Working with elementals might help. So going into a practice, working with more ambiguous energies like fairies, as opposed to more rigid energies like, or principled deities, if you will. If I'm speaking your language, you'll know what I mean. Okay, so scrying works as long as you're looking inward. So if you are, okay, and this is another thing. So if you're journeying, if you're coming into a state of meditation and you are floating off, you are taking, you know, Alice in Wonderland, where she drinks the drink, she eats the cookie. Put the cookie down. Don't drink the drink. You do not need to unpeel more layers. When you're going through difficult times, you need to ground. Floating high up in the clouds is not the answer. There's almost this like rigidity to the amount of air that's here. Like what's the fixed air sign? What's the cardinal air sign? So Libra and Aquarius. So in difficult times, ground, scry, take care of business. So don't let those things fall by the wayside. Try not to isolate yourself too much. Go more into an elemental practice, into a more primal, primitive practice rather than a high ritual practice. Try not to rely too much on the divine. Balance your third eye. And try to sustain a certain level of presence. If you feel yourself floating away, pull yourself back by the ankles. And you can do that with physical objects, beautiful physical objects specifically, things that catch your eye, things that you're drawn to, that you want to be around. This can also be books. But when you're reading the books, books that are grounded, so books that are grounded in a tradition, but not reading them as dogma or not adopting that principle and living strictly by it, but incorporating it. There's a very tricky balance in this, very tricky balance, but you've got temperance there, which is Sagittarius energy, by the way. So we have fire and earth. So that's what I have for you, pile number 3. Please leave a comment. Let me know how this resonated. If you want a personal reading, my information is in the description box below. Take care.